You're listening to a Cup of Resilience podcast with Tamiko Drummond. Real topics, real people, real solutions.
Hello, everyone. Guess what? It is a Cup of Resilience time. My name is Tamiko Drummond, and I'm known as the Brand Success Coach. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome. My name is Tamiko Drummond, known as the Brand Success Coach. Once you choose us, they will never stop talking about you. I'm so excited. Welcome back to a Cup of Resilience. I have a special guest in the building today. Our topic today is about mental health. Listen, who's out here that has not been taking their PTO time? Who has learned about, hey, it's the grind and I'm just grinding, right? Well, I have an awesome guest in the building, Dr. Tara L Henderson. She is a mental health educator and an author of the book called The Couch Where Life Happens. I'm so excited to introduce you to Dr. Henderson. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Oh my God, I'm super excited. I've known Tara for a minute, and I'm just glad she said yes to come on because this topic is so important. But please go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Tamiko said, my name is Tara L Henderson, and I am originally from Nassau, Bahamas. And I tell people that I had a really unique path in that I am a former international student turned international educator. So I have been a mental health professor for the past 8 years, where I teach and train mental health practitioners how to provide the best mental health care to their clients. And also, like Tamiko said, I'm an author of The Couch Where Life Happens, that was released on my birthday, 2020. So that was a really exciting endeavor that I had. And I'm also a coach. So in my coaching, I help women identify emotional patterns, implement healthy boundaries, to really create healthy relationships. You know, who doesn't want a healthy relationship?
Right.
Exactly. And I do this through hosting webinars, a workshop, social media, educational clips, and even today being a podcast guest. And there's just really a lot of symmetry, I like to say, between my book and what I do on a day-to-day basis, you know, whether it's in person, online, social media, all that good stuff. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right. So thank you so much. But y'all, let me tell you something. Dr. Henderson is the real deal, okay? You will get your whole life together, okay? So let's just get into topic right now. But she's the real deal. I just wanted to say that. So we are talking about you need a mental health day, and that is okay. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've coached in coaching sessions with clients where they would say, no, I haven't, I'm just grinding, you know, I've got to do this, that, and other. I'm not sleeping I'll sleep when I'm dead. I was like, really? Like what? I'm like, please take time off. So please let the people know, why is it important to take your time off? And it is okay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you know, there are many reasons, you know, for that. You know, people have their own, you know, like individual reasoning, but I just want to highlight a few, especially like with those that I've encountered or even like students, you know, like even now I teach online and it's like even through the areas is like, I don't know how to take a break and this and that. And I'm feeling overwhelmed by the material. And, you know, the cycle just continues. But a lot of people, they adopt the I have to do mentality versus the I get to do mentality. They don't know how to say no. It's like, I remember when I was growing up, my dad always taught me, he was like, Tira, no is a complete sentence. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so harsh, you know, especially me being the empathic person that I am. I'm like, how am I supposed to say no? But then, you know, you can get creative with that. You know, you don't have to just say no, period. I mean, if that's your personality, that's fine. But if you're a little bit more, like on the more gentle tone, you can think of ways of how to say no, because again, you're choosing things, you're choosing other people over yourself. And then you beat yourself up in the process to say, well, I don't know why I added X, Y, and Z onto my calendar. I don't, and then you're going to end up needing to take time off. Like, it's not even going to be optional anymore. It's not going to be negotiable anymore. It might even be forced. Your body might catch up with you and be like, look, it's time to sit down somewhere. Even when I think about it further, sometimes people equate quantity over quality. So it's like, let me just fill up my plate even that much more, because they adopt a mindset of, if I do more, then that equals success. That equals my goals being accomplished, versus being more strategic and focusing more on quality versus quantity. But one thing that I also like to recognize too is that, like in my field, we talk a lot about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
So I also understand that, there are people who are in a space where their basic needs aren't met. So if you're in that space where your basic needs aren't met and you're in more of like a survival mode, then rest
Right.
in more of a luxury
Mhm.
rather than, a necessity. So you have that as well. So I'm just going because
Listen, it's important because, and
yeah.
not to say people that I listen. Let me raise my hand, and I know someone else can really dig what I'm saying.
Mhm.
I get into that mode too, where I just keep going from sun up to sundown until my body is like, I don't know about you, but we is about to go to sleep or something.
Okay.
So be somewhere safe.
Mhm.
And so you get to that point. Oh my God. Like a couple of years ago, I also lacked boundaries in that I would say yes to stuff. And then I'm like, oh my God, why did this? It was like someone said, hey, Tamiko, can you do yes? Like, what? Why didn't I pause and think about this first?
Mhm.
So I totally understand. You have to set those boundaries. It's so important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are some ways that people can actually, other than saying no, because yes, it's tough sometimes, but you have to say no. Yes, it's a complete sentence. But what are ways to kind of just say no and really focus on yourself, but not feeling like, oh my God, am I being selfish?
Yeah. So that first starts off by you knowing your emotional capacity first. So how much can I handle? Am I able to do this at this time? So it's like really taking that step back. And like I like to say, well, let me think about it. Let me think about it, and then I'll get back to you. That's like a safe spot for me, because time and time again, I would check like my calendar and, see if that's just depending on how much time and energy it's going to require, seeing if it's feasible for me right now. And I would circle back with that individual, because again, like that's me prioritizing myself. And it's not being, well, it is being a little selfish, but good selfishness, because you're saying that, hey, I value myself, I value my time, I value my resources, so much so that I am going to take a quick moment to say, let me think about it. So it can sound like that. It can sound like, you know, just giving the option of, hey, when you have a project similar to blah, blah, blah in the near future, just keep me in mind. So it's not just a hard no, but it's more of like I would still like to be on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right now.
Right.
Given that little context clue, like, I'm not available right now. I'm trying not to say that to you, but I'm
Right.
picking up what I'm putting down. It sounds like that. And it just depends on what space in life you're talking about. If it's work related, if it's a friendship type of situation where it's like, you know, you just can't make every single event because, hey, you got a budget or something. So,
Right.
which one do you value most? Do you value being perceived in one particular light over what reality says? So
Mm-hmm.
Again, I saw someone say you got to put the limits on. Yeah,
Right.
put the limits. You got to, and not just think about them, but you have to implement them.
That's so
And,
true.
and the thing about it is, you might even have to reinforce it. You might have to reinforce that.
Right.
People will try it.
Right.
Especially if you've been that person where you always said yes.
Mm-hmm.
So now you try something different. How dare you try something different?
Exactly.
Try it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Listen, let's go back for a moment,
Okay.
because it seems like the word mental health is
Okay.
kind of like being thrown around. So, can you kind of just define what is mental health?
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Like it's been thrown around, it's been sensationalized, all of that.
Right.
It's been the hot topic, and
And it
everyone
kind of has a negative connotation sometimes, you know? It
does.
does.
But let's clear the air a bit. So you've probably heard one or the other, just depending on the spaces that you might have been in. So there has been, conversations around mental health, versus mental illness, versus mental disorder, versus psychopathology, all of these different things. But I'm going to break it down just so that we can get clear
Mhm.
before moving forward. But for instance, psychopathology is simply just a study of mental health disorders. So from that, you hear terms of like psychopath, all of these different variations. But psychopathology first is a study of mental health disorders. And then mental health disorders are often referred to as mental illnesses. When we say that, it just means that there is a dysregulation of either your mood, of your thinking, and or your behaviors.
Mhm.
And that can be due to biological or genetic factors. It
Right.
can be due to life experiences. That's when the conversations around trauma happens. Or it can even be, family history of mental health problems. So when we talk about mental health disorders or mental health illnesses,
Mhm.
that's the verbiage that we're really attaching to it. And then mental health now overall is our overall emotional, psychological, and social well-being.
Okay.
So that's in the most simplistic kind of way. When you talk about mental health, you put it in that category. I'm talking about, well, how am I doing emotionally, psychologically, socially? Those things encompass mental health. You're talking about mental health disorders. Okay, is there dysregulation? Am I not able to function in my day to day life like I used to? Is it even that much more challenging for me to get out of the bed, not just a regular getting out of the bed, rolling over, but
Mhm.
actually getting out of the bed to go to work? Does that seem more of a chore?
Right.
Then that's when we start to ask more specific questions. But yeah, mental health overall is just, are you checking in with yourself
Right.
emotionally, psychologically, socially, all that?
So let me ask you this, because the other day I saw someone post saying that they're experiencing mental health and was asking for advice. It was just a post on social media.
Okay.
And when I see stuff like that, I almost want to say, well, what is the mental health that you're experiencing?
Hmm.
Because it seems so broad to
Yes.
me.
It's just
So
not a complete sentence in that way.
right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. So if I see something like that, what are some tips or tools that I could utilize or people can utilize to maybe help someone, I don't know, figure out what's really happening with them? And how do you know when they need a mental health day, or probably need several mental health days, right? Time off,
Mhm.
i.e., time off, or
Mhm.
they actually probably need to seek, you know, attention from like someone like yourself, a counselor, etc.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. So when you talked about, the individual on social media, so they said that they're experiencing mental health. What they meant more than likely is that they're experiencing an issue as it relates to their mental health.
Right.
Because when you think of health, you think of wholeness. So when we talk about mental health, that's what we want to put like the focus on, like how to help someone, manage some of the symptoms or issues that they might be experiencing that threatens their mental health.
Right.
You know, so just even clarifying that. So that person might have just been talking about some symptoms that kind of said, well, hey, this is a sign that you probably do need to take care of your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of signs, I'll give like a few signs that you might very well need to take care of your mental health. So if this is you, for those that are listening, if you find yourself in any of these spaces or these categories, then it just might mean that, hey, you need to take notice. You need to be aware, self awareness. That's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we'll veer a little bit more into some of the things that you can do after you've identified, yeah, I probably do need to prioritize myself and my mental health. All right. So, with the common signs, if you feel resentful, that's one. If you dread starting your day, like it's a constant dread that you feel starting your day. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a space where you can't find joy in anything, it's like the things that you used to like doing,
Right.
hobbies that you had, like that you just have a total disinterest. It's as if you didn't even participate in those hobbies, you know? You find yourself isolating yourself from people, and it could be from friends, like those close friends. It could be from family. You find yourself not isolating yourself from them. You might also feel like you don't belong. You feel sad.
Right.
You feel blah. You feel overwhelmed. You feel burnout. You might even be in a space where you can't maintain healthy relationships. It feels like a chore to maintain the healthy relationships that you do have.
Right.
Mm. If you're in a cycle of worrying over and over and over about everything, not even just one particular thing, but everything all
Mm-hmm.
the time, again, that's another sign. And even if you're in a space where you feel as though you have tried everything that you know, like you went back to the things that you did, that got you in a better space mentally, emotionally, and it doesn't work anymore. You feel stuck. You feel stuck in that space. So those might just be some telltale signs that you do need to point the light on your mental health and maybe take a mental health day,
Right.
with that space. Um, but there are some good mental health day habits if that's the direction that we're going in that you can implement. Um, First, I'd like to say that it is very important for us to even move from a mindset set of a mental health day. Now, they're needed and they're necessary.
Right.
What would it look like if you adopt a mental health care lifestyle?
Right.
What would that look like? You know, your gauges. If your emotional capacity. You know yourself so well enough that you're now adopting this into a lifestyle. And I'll give a quick personal example um, as to how I even got to this space. So I remember when I first started it was my first job, I think, in the mental health field. I was working with this behavioral health agency. I mean, I probably was like 21 or something, just so excited, you know? Um,
Right.
and I was like, yeah, I was saying yes to everything. Okay. Saying yes
Right.
to everything, taking on all the clients. I'm just going to heal the world. I'm just going to be that person, just fitting the mold of doing too much. And I found myself one day, and I've never experienced this before prior to this day, but I found myself sitting at my desk just as if it was a regular day, and the entire left side of my body went numb. The
Wow.
left side is my dominant side. So
Mm-hmm.
handed, and this entire side went numb. Like I couldn't move it. I was trying to type. I was trying to do all this stuff and it wasn't working. Thankfully, though, Concentra Urgent Care, this was in Georgia, Concentra Urgent
Right.
Care was literally like in the same parking lot. So
Wow.
I walked myself over there. Like I don't even think I told anyone. I walked myself over there because I was like, Tira, this ain't good. Your body again keeps
Mm-hmm.
your body will keep score. Even if you don't feel it in a very moment, it might very well sneak up on you.
Right. You'll feel it
Yeah.
soon.
So I checked myself in. And then, when I talked to the doctor, he said, first question he asked, where do you work? And I was like, oh, this
Mm.
is relevant. I was like, why is he asking me this question? But I told him, I said, right across the street. I pointed, there was a window right there, so he could see, exactly what I
Right.
was pointing. And he was like, you know what? You're not going back there. I'm going to write you a slip. And I think it was like maybe 2 days off that he gave me. I had to call someone to pick me up. This was in the middle of the day. So imagine racking my brain, like who's off on their job to pick me up
Exactly.
and take me all the way home. Like at that point, I lived like 30 minutes away.
Oh,
Um, but he told me that I had a panic attack. I had a panic attack.
really?
Yes. And I was like, you know what? This is my gauge. This is my gauge of knowing whether or not I'm doing too much. So
Right.
even now, like that's been quite a few years ago, but even now, my gauge is like, okay, girl, are you at a 1 or are you at a concentra urgent care?
Right.
Like,
Wow.
I literally mentally think about that. And if I feel myself just getting closer to that space,
Hmm.
something has to give. It's not optional anymore, you know. So I want you to think about, like everyone that's listening in, I want you to really think about, what is your gauge? What does it look like? Because again, like these things can be preventable. The research is now coming up more, where they're making more of a connection between your mind and your body and all of that.
Mhm.
So it behooves us to pay attention. It's like,
Certainly.
stop being self-sacrificial 100% of the time.
Right. Oh my God. Listen, we have a question from one of our listeners,
Mhm.
and before you answer it, I
Yeah.
just want to pause real quick for a
Mhm.
quick message from our sponsor. So hold on one moment.
Hey, I'm Sean Xavier Smith, writer, director, creative. Welcome to the neighborhood. Want to invite you to join us as we launch our second season. It's been an incredible run throughout COVID. We were able to restructure some things and bring up some new faces, some new ideas and thoughts, and just have a lot of fun. August 28th, you can find us on the website, www.theneighborhood.com, the YouTube channel at The Neighborhood, and all our social media is at The Neighborhood.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
All right, that was a message from the neighborhood. Thank you so much for sponsoring our podcast today. So Preston has a question for you. How can someone who is usually not self-aware transition into being more self-aware?
Yeah, so I think the answer even kind of starts with, it's within the question as well, to the point whereas, okay, so you already recognize that you're not self-aware. So that might be where you rely on your community. People know. I remember even in certain spaces where I didn't know how I was responding to life's events. And I had to be told exactly like what wasn't good or what wasn't beneficial for me, or how it weighed on me, or how I've changed, or asking the simple question to, whether it's your peers, whether it's to family members, whether it's to friends, like, how do you how do you think I respond to X, Y, and Z? You
Mhm.
know, what how do I what is your expectation of me, like when I'm faced with this type of life challenge? And I think the fact that you're even asking the question too really just is like a signal, like, hey, I probably need to start this right now. I probably need to get that feedback, even if it's challenging to hear.
Mhm.
It's necessary. I even remember, relationally growing up, I had, like, like high school BFFs and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I had one particular friend. She was just super quiet. I was quiet as well, but she was much more quiet.
Mhm.
I was in a bad relationship, and when it came to an end, she told me, I really wanted that feedback during the time, but she told me after it was all said and done, Tira, like, I saw you spiraling. Like, I
Oh,
saw this, I
wow.
saw that about you. And she pointed like 5 or 6 different things that were out of my character
Wow.
or who she knew me as. And this was probably at least maybe 10 years in to the friendship that we had. So I had to tell her, well, hey, I need you to let me know sooner than that, because it
Exactly.
ended much differently than it did.
Exactly.
And it happens to the strong people, the people who
Yes.
find themselves as being strong. A lot of people don't tell you this stuff because they expect you to already know.
Right.
They expect you to already have the tools and the coping skills and all of this and that, because you the person that always gets stuff done.
You're the strong friend. You're the one they go to for advice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, I know that all too well.
So transitioning into self-awareness, I'd say it starts with, asking those that are closest to you first, those that will provide the most honest, unfiltered feedback.
Mhm.
Because there's nothing like getting something sugar coated. It's like, no, I just need you. I'm not going to react in any type of way. I just need you to show up for me in this way.
Right.
Yeah.
This is this is really interesting. And again, everyone, we are talking to Dr. Tara L Henderson. She is a mental health educator, and I'm going to go into her book because she's got an awesome book called The Couch Where Life Happens. But I was wondering, doctor, as it relates to mental health, how else can people, because you mentioned previously that they need to gauge where they are. Now, I know, having coached you, coached me on some things, right? And you have this plate.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all, when I tell you her exercise is stressful, right? When you have too much things going on, but you have to do it because she won't let you not do it. It's like, oh my God, I've got way too much. How do I fit enough time in my day? It gets overwhelming. Like, but it's almost like a picture of you are doing too much.
Yeah. It literally, one of the main reasons why I even like doing that activity is because it brings to light exactly what's already going on up here. It puts it in front of you for you to see that you might very well be doing too much.
Right.
And what Tamika was talking about is that, like, I kind of give just just like a symmetry where first you have your the plate that you're at right now. So what do you have going on right now? What does reality look like for you right now? And then I have you create a plate where what does your ideal lifestyle look like? Okay, you said 80% of the time you're at work, 80 out of 100% pie. Like, you try to filter in like self-care, taking care of home, all of this stuff. You try to filter that in that little 20%. But what would it look like if we just spread it out a little bit more, and what needs to happen? So even with that, we're able to put some actionable steps, and then it's on you. Like, it's really on you.
It is.
But gosh, like, even when I did that maybe 2 or 3 times. I'm like, girl, some things need to change.
Right. But the thing is, and I see your question, Preston, thank you, or your statement, is very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Because when you actually see, okay, how am I spending my time, and why am I finding it so difficult to get downtime for that mental health day or mental health break? And I've even told myself, like, stop scheduling clients on the weekends.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to help people out, but I'm like, oh, I kind of need a weekend for myself,
So let's talk a little bit about practically what it looks like then. So for me, and then I'll go into like some other specific things that you can do. For me, I knew that I needed to set a boundary with time, because as quick as it comes, as quick as it goes. And I had to really carve out, like, recently, and I've been doing this for maybe the past, I'd say maybe for about a year now, where 9 to 11, that's my biological prime time. That's when I work the most. That's when I'm able to do the hard stuff first. So even when I have these side things, or like if someone calls after a certain, I'm able to be available in that space, but not at the expense of my focus time. So 9 to 11, I tell everyone in the house, I'm like, look, it's my time. Okay, they already know the breakfast. You got to go make your breakfast. You got to,
Right.
Because if I don't separate or time block, then the day is just going to escape me. But then again, that's me choosing me in that moment. I value my work. I value the things that I do. So I need to be the person to set it and to maintain it over time. So practically, what does that look like? Taking breaks.
Mhm.
If you're not even able to get a mental health day at this point, what does a mental health moment look like?
Right.
5 minutes? 5 minutes? I mean, like what is realistic for you
Hmm.
right now? Because maybe what I do doesn't work for you, and that's fine. You know yourself best. So taking breaks, taking care of your body, picking up a new skill or hobby, focusing on what you can control versus worrying about what it is you cannot control. Do you need
True.
to connect more with others? Have you been isolated for quite some time? You need to find ways to connect more with others. If you're a writer, do you journal? That's been a skill that I've picked up from time to time. Um,
Right.
Really, like we say in our field, cathartic. Like it gives you this release. It gives you like this emotional release because the baggage is not stored here 24.
Right. Yeah,
But
I like journaling.
I love it, and it doesn't even have to make sense. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be accurate. Naps. I see naps. Listen, 2 o'clock normally is my time.
Right.
If I can get it in a 20-minute power nap, oh my gosh, I will feel so much more rejuvenated. Um, it also looks like choosing your words. So I like to even talk about this where, no, I have to go to work. No, I get to go to work. So what type of mental switches can you make
That's good.
so that it doesn't seem like a chore, the things, the obligations, the roles that you play. It doesn't seem like a chore
Mhm.
24/7, but it's a blessing. Like it's, something that I get.
Right.
It's a gift. It's a gift. We already talked about setting time limits,
Mhm.
and even in the space of reaching out. So I know we can probably chat a little bit about that later on, but what does reaching out look like for you?
Exactly.
What does that look like for you? But the one thing that we need to realize is that we need to move from what you always do. We need to move from what we always do when what you always do is not working anymore. It isn't working anymore. So we have to make that shift, and
Right.
it comes in the form of techniques, it comes in the form of tools, it comes in the form of resisting the urge of saying, oh, well, I'm good. When someone asks you how you're really doing, is that a moment that you probably could just say how you're doing
Say
for real?
some real, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
No, that is so true. And these are some excellent tips. I really hope that you all are taking notes because the doctor is in the building and she has given you some tips to know when you need a mental health day or lifestyle,
Hmm.
and what to do when you actually need to take a break. Tips to take a break, changing your mindset. Oh my God, positivity is so important. So I typically wake up really early, and I make sure that in those hours I pray, meditate, and just kind of get my mind right. So that's like my time. I feel like I'm
Hmm.
closer connected to God at that moment when people are like still sleeping, I don't know. But
Hmm.
that's my time to like just set my mind right for the day. Like,
It's
woosah,
a game changer.
breathe. People forget to breathe. Listen, y'all, if y'all are not taking deep, full breaths, you need a day, okay? You need a day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to pivot a bit,
Mhm.
and just kind of talk about your book.
Okay.
So you said last year you wrote a book called The Couch Where Life Happens.
Yes.
And I know that you tell stories about what you've been through, et cetera, and your experiences. So just let the people know a little bit about your book. And y'all, you know how I like to do. I will be doing a giveaway of
Woo-hoo.
Dr. Henderson's book. So make sure that you're following me and following her, and just hit me in the DM and say, hey, I want a book. I want a copy. And we'll do a drawing, okay, in a few days. So you let the people know about your book and why you decided to write it.
Okay. Okay. So the couch where life happens. I wanted to create a book that sounds like it was written by your best friend who just so happens to be a professional counselor.
Mhm.
And what I do in that book is I really take you on a journey with lessons and actionable steps towards emotional wholeness with yourself and with others. So there's always, at the end of every chapter, there's always some practical steps or questions, deeper thought questions that are at the end of each chapter, and that was intentional.
Wow.
I want you to like even with this book, like think of those conversations that you have on the couch with your girlfriends. This book really mimics that raw yet enriching moment.
Right.
And it's also a play on my profession and what I value greatly, which is deep, meaningful convos you have with friends. So I like to say that it's a safe invitation to identify and unravel some of our unhealthy emotional patterns as we create and cultivate healthy relationships, because that's an ongoing journey.
It
I mean,
is.
who doesn't want to have healthy and thriving relationships? So in this book, I really put my foot down because I said, okay, Tira, no one else is going to do this work for you. So
Mhm.
you need to do it. Like you say you want this thing, but what does this thing look like in motion?
Right.
It looks like me doing the deep work. So I section it off into different categories as far as friends, families, relationships, spirituality, all
Right.
the big pieces of what makes you who you are
Mhm.
into those sections. And I literally like unearth some of like the deepest areas experience either in my life or those that I have encountered over time. So, and it's a fun read. So again,
Right.
said, just picture like you having a conversation with your best friend on the couch, and you remember, oh yeah, well, she a counselor, so she might know what she's talking about a little.
Exactly. Right. But listen, y'all. So we're gonna be doing a giveaway because if you go out and check out the book reviews, like we have people crying, laughing. So it's all of these emotions, but
Yes,
good. At the end of it, people feel release.
yes,
A release.
yes.
So certainly, I'm doing a giveaway. I would say, okay, we'll do 2 books giveaway, okay? But she's gonna also drop the link. But you have to follow us and then DM me and let me know that you're following both of us. So you can follow me at a couple of resilience and brand success coach. And then Doctor, how do they follow you?
Yeah. So you can follow me if you are on LinkedIn. I'm Tara L Henderson on LinkedIn. If you are on Instagram, I am Dr. Dr. Tara Terah Henderson on there. Yeah, and those are my main avenues that you can reach me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? I know we're wrapping up, but what is next for you? You've already wrote the book.
Uh-huh.
I think you're still a professor. She's a professor,
Mhm.
y'all.
Mhm.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you train PhD students. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Masters, and PhD students. Yes.
Mhm. So what is next for you on your journey? And what should people look are they should they look out for anything? Are you taking on coaching clients? What's happening right now?
Yeah, so I'm actually looking to start creating courses and webinars for women who struggle with identifying their emotional patterns that really keep them stuck. So it's like you know something that's going on, but you just don't know how to really pinpoint it. So
Right.
one of my gifts is to really help in that process.
Mhm.
Because again, it's like a barrier to you even being able to nurture healthy relationships.
Mhm.
I also want to revisit my unscripted women's events that I had in Georgia. So I'm trying to revamp that as well. And these events really helped bridge the gap between generations
Mhm.
so that we can bring the couch to life. So I imagine like a room filled with women age 18 to 81 coming
Wow.
together and learning from each other because it's power in that. Specifically because I guess the inspiration for that is I always valued my grandmother's wisdom,
Mhm.
both of them before they passed. That was one of my favorite things to do, just to sit at their feet and listen to the stories and get their input on X, Y, and Z. So even when I had those type of events, the old women were learning from the younger women like how to relate to their children or grandchildren, and then we had that beautiful exchange. So, and it made it fun. We had
So
coffee,
good.
had tea, we made it like a little brunch event, that kind of stuff. So those are the two main things. I'm really working on creating courses and webinars, and also diving into bringing my unscripted women's events to life.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
listen, this has been a very enriching conversation. Is there anything else that you want to leave the people with? Any advice? Just anything, a quote, whatever comes to mind before
Yeah.
we close out?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to just drop a few resources for people because you might have, like listened in and, found yourself in some of the things that we discussed today. So I want to just provide resources in the form of websites, or if you're more of like a social media person, just so that you can know what your next steps might look like. So for like websites, if you have an inkling or feeling that you might be dealing with either anxiety or depression, you can log on to adaa.org. Um, you can also log on to counseling.org. That's the American Counseling Association, and take a look at the Counseling Today archives. They have a plethora of information as it relates to mental health resources. And then also the American Psychological Association, which is APA.org. And you can definitely check out their knowledge center. It's just, that kind of really helps. These websites help with sifting through all of the information that you see, whether it's through social media, so on and so forth. And then if you're on social media, speaking of social media, you can follow at PSYCH_today. That's Psychology Today. And you can also follow Nedra Glover Tawwab. I'm really, really, really liking her content because she is putting out, stuff, whether it's related to setting boundaries, whether it's creating and cultivating your peace. Like it's detailed enough where you won't feel super overwhelmed. So that's the point as well. And then Twitter, I'm not on Twitter, but link there would be at ACA_CT online. And then that's Counseling Today, the website that I gave you previously. That's their Twitter handle. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, listen, you all, thank you again for tuning in to A Cup of Resilience podcast with me, your host, Tamiko Drummond. And we were talking about mental health. Take your day. Take a day, take some time off, utilize the tools that Dr. Tara mentioned today. Watch the replay and look out for our podcast dropping on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and all the other platforms. Well, that is it. And we'll see you next time in about a few weeks. I have some amazing guests coming up. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Doctor, how do they reach you again?
So you can find me on IG at Dr. Tara Henderson. And you can also find me on LinkedIn at Tara L Henderson.
All right, guys. If you want to be in the drawing for a copy of her book, The Couch Where Life Happens, follow us both and then hit me up in the DM saying, hey, I followed you and I want to be in the drawing, okay? You might win. All right. Thank you all so much. See you soon. And thank you for everybody who chimed in and tuned in. Until next time. Later. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to A Cup of Resilience. Follow, like, share at A Cup of Resilience. At A Cup of Resilience.
My name is Tamiko Drummond, and I'm known as the brand success coach. Once you choose us, they will never stop talking about you.